1 million homes are bought and sold every year in the UK. Moving house is always a stressful experience. But for some people, it turns out to be their worst nightmare. Coming up on New Homes from Hell, explosions and maggots. Plus, the house that looks great from the front. But here's what's round the back.
We weren't concerned about was it going to fall down, but when it was going to fall down, it was defying gravity.
And the couple who threw everything into their Spanish dream home and ended up losing it.
It's been absolute hell. Nothing, there's no other word for it but hell.
$150,000 brand new homes are built every year. But if you think you're buying peace of mind, you may be disappointed.
You shouldn't have any hell with a new house, should you? It's new.
Terry's home was so new it hadn't been built, but on paper, the 5-bedroomed house in the Wirral looked ideal. The perfect home for her and Steve, who married in July 2003. A few weeks before they moved in with their children, Emma and Liam.
We were on a go. I'd seen the picture and I'd seen the location and I'd seen her reaction and it's dream home stuff.
The house was perfect. The location was perfect. We bought all the extras for the house. We upgraded all the carpets. We upgraded the kitchen. We upgraded the appliances. It's just fabulous. We just loved it.
But not for long. Only months after buying their £373,000 home, they wanted to get rid of it. First, there were loads of snagging problems, from putty doorbells to dodgy dishwasher doors. But then it got much worse. Shoddy plumbing, loads of leaks, faulty boiler, serious structural problems, falling masonry, and an infested garden.
We had plumbers that were in here, we had joiners that were in here. At one stage she said she had 7 people here and they had all the boots lined up outside the house. All we were missing was Snow White.
3 months after they moved in, the flooding started.
The bowl was overflowing. They just lifted the top off and then there was a big water fountain that just came out here. It was like something out of a comedy.
Well, yeah, it was absolutely ruined my dress.
The next flood caused much more damage.
The whole of the utility room, all the kitchen, was just, you were just treading water.
At this point, Steve started keeping a video diary. He recorded what the plumber said when he came to sort out the problem.
Water's been coming from the nut, leaking down the pipework, it's gone under the floor. You can see it all around the light fin, run down the walls, gone under the floor,
Come out into the kitchen.
All the floor's ruined.
But before the floor was fixed, more flooding was on the way.
No, can't shut it off.
This floor's going to be ruined as well, then, isn't it?
And their showers kept leaking.
When you're in the shower, all the water starts to create into a bath and it overflows over the floor.
Terry complained to the developers, Westbury Homes.
I said, it's obviously faulty workmanship, it's built wrong. This is a joke. We've paid nearly £400,000 for this pile of poo. I said, what are you going to do about it?
The developers promised to put everything right. They sent plumbers round who made a list of faults.
No. Have you found anything?
Yes. I'm not saying anything on film.
Oh, only 1 page. That's good.
It's only 1 page.
And that's the first bathroom. OK, then.
When the floors came up, the plumbers discovered why the showers kept overflowing.
And what's the matter with our ensuite pipe?
It's running backwards from there, down that way, it's running back towards the shower.
Well, that'll explain why that one wasn't emptying.
Eventually, as they went round the whole house had been plumbed the wrong way up. It was going upwards instead of downwards.
The plumbers also discovered that the boiler had the wrong fittings. British Gas were called in.
It's an at-risk situation. Yeah.
Okay.
We'd had enough by then. We just thought, what else? What else? You know,
The family already had a lot to deal with. Terry had been diagnosed with a serious illness.
Got a brain tumour. It can't be operated on because it's in the middle of my central nervous system here. And they said to me when we first had it diagnosed, they would give me 10 years to my life, and I'm into 3 now. So the house was meant to give me something to take my mind off the tumour, off the cancer, off that, and give me a new start.
So basically, it wasn't just a standard house move, it was a fight for life for her. But obviously, in these circumstances, you're fairly helpless in terms of what you can do to actually support them. No amount of money will help, for example. But I thought, here, positive fight, a wedding, and a new dream home.
But the home was adding to Terry's stress with new disasters.
I put my hand on here, and the next thing is I'm at the bottom of the stairs because all this moved. And I don't remember falling down each step, I just remember I was lying at the bottom.
A few months later, Terry fell again.
She came to this one, and she fell down the bottom set here.
At the time, she blamed her illness.
And I thought, God, is my tumour playing up again? So I was nervous and frightened to death because I thought, it's kicking in again.
But a joiner sent by the developers discovered the woodwork had split because the stairs weren't screwed to the wall.
Another big hole in my house. He's found more problems with the stairs.
Even the garden was rotten. The topsoil was infested with crane fly larvae.
If they could bottle this, it would do better than any weed killer. It just doesn't grow no matter what.
And 1 year on, the bugs are still there.
When you've got all the hassle going on in the house and all the crap that's going on in there, and you couldn't even come out to the garden to escape it.
Well, this just about sums it all up for me, this one. Our house from hell.
Coming up, the horrible secrets lurking beneath floorboards at Terry and Steve's house.
That's how you don't do plumbing.
This is incompetence on a grand scale.
The new homes built in the wrong place that had to be knocked down.
Let's build houses anywhere we can and not worry about the future of the people going to live in them.
And a lucky escape from the houses that blew up.
They got her out!
Steve and Terry Horbachowski had high hopes for their brand new home.
We expected to just live here quite happily without any problems. And we've had nothing but problems from day one. So it's just been a nightmare.
They've suffered leaky loos.
No, can't shut it up.
Shoddy stairs.
The next thing is I'm at the bottom of the stairs because all this moved.
And a garden full of maggots. The developers insist they've done everything they can to cooperate with repairs. But they say the couple sometimes refuse them access. So, what do the experts think of the house? Who better than House of Horrors specialists Colin and John Top? Colin knows everything there is to know about plumbing. His brother John's a structural engineer. So, what does Colin make of the plumbing in the house?
This is a standard job that you wouldn't expect even from a real DIYer. The pipe's held up on a piece of wood and stuck on with some mastic. This is held up by using offcuts of pipe, which is all bad practice, badly designed, badly laid out. It's a shoddy job. This piece of pipe is, I think that says it all. You know, it's just one mass of bends that's just waiting to get blocked up. Very interesting to look at, but I wouldn't like to buy a house with that under the floor.
They've even bodged the basics.
Absolutely appalling. They couldn't even fit a pair of taps.
But it was when the floors were up for the plumbing repairs that Terry noticed something that worried her. So she filmed what she found.
This is the bathroom. We don't know what these metal strips are, but look at that, completely snapped in half.
John Top knows what they are. Restraint straps. And it's not the only one that's faulty.
What looks like an innocent piece of metal, rather flimsy, is in fact an essential part of the structure. Unfortunately, this one is as good as useless. One, it's not properly fixed to the floor and it's in no fit position to actually restrain the wall. This is incompetence on a grand scale.
John's also concerned about big holes in some of the joists, which they tried to repair with plywood.
They have fundamentally weakened the floor joists. And this is just vandalism. To go crazy and just cut huge holes in what is a piece of structure is just insane.
But the final straw was when chunks of mortar started falling off the roof.
This falling out on a new property can only mean shoddy workmanship. And as you can see, it's a very heavy, a solid lump of mortar. The problem with this kind of issue is that it's likely to be ongoing, and there's no telling how big a piece is going to fall out and when.
Fundamentally, I think from a man's perspective, you've got to feel safe in your house, and your family has got to be safe.
The family took up an offer from Steve's work to move to Brussels, and they asked Westbury Homes to buy their house back.
I said, now we've uncovered all these other faults, the house is dangerous. I don't want to live in it. You've ruined it for me. You've took the life out of it. You've took the dream. You've stomped all over it. I said, I just want my money back.
Westbury Homes accept, in this case, their usual high standards weren't met and apologised sincerely to the family. They agreed to buy the house back for the original price.
You've got more rights with a toaster than you have with a house. So at least you could take it back if it's broken or you're not satisfied with the service or something. The dream's been shattered. It means nothing.
Just ruined it, didn't it? The worst house I've ever bought. House from hell.
Abbey Street in Faversham, Kent, is the town's oldest and prettiest road. It's 2004, Barbara Waldegrave.
I always liked Abbey Street. I thought it was a nice road, nice place to live. And then this house came on the market and I wanted more space so my family could stay. And so I bought it.
But just a few weeks after Barbara moved in, her walls came tumbling down.
I was here on this bed, fast asleep, and then there was this almighty noise. I thought it was a truck crashing. Then I thought it could have been a bomb. And all I could remember kept saying was, oh my God. I can remember going, oh my God, because it was really, really frightening. And I came down the stairs after the explosion and I stopped at the bottom and I could see this debris in the lounge room. And I carried on into the room. There was a huge hole in the wall and everything had been blown up to this end of the room. And it was all dusty and dirty.
The house next door and the two houses on the other side of it were completely destroyed.
It was really strange to look out of there and there was nothing, no house there. It had gone completely. Well, I came out and looked round and I couldn't believe actually what I saw. I'd never seen devastation like it, ever. It was just unbelievable, the cars and the rubble and the dust and smoke. And it was just unreal.
Everybody that side, please move down. Right back past the junction here. In case we get suggested you switch your gas off in the house. Please move back.
Two of the houses were empty. In the third lived 83-year-old Elsie Howland.
We all had to be very quiet so they could locate her under the rubble. And they went in, the three lads, I think there were three of them, and went in. They got her out!
Elsie suffered serious burns, but made a full recovery. Following the shock of the initial blast, came the fire. The cottages had been built without any walls dividing the roof space, so the fire spread rapidly down the terrace. The owner of the last cottage to be left standing is Anne Wasp.
And then the most ghastly thing was just watching it burn, obviously with the balls of fire just coming, leaping along. And I knew that very soon it would actually get to 45 and I would be without a roof and maybe without a house.
A couple of doors down live Vanessa and Greg Philippou.
The fire was incredibly quick to take hold.
Huge flames, weren't there, coming from Elsie's end of the row.
I fought the fire by breaking through our roof and our neighbours' roofs to put water onto the fire.
It was very frightening, that. Perhaps it's just a primeval elemental thing or something, fire, and to see everything on fire and smoky. It was just horrible.
The disaster brought back memories for neighbour Lionel Klein.
It just looked like something from the Second World War, where a bomb had dropped. It was so sudden. In a sense, it was a little bit more traumatic, just because it was so surprising. You didn't expect it to happen in peacetime in a quiet street in Faversham.
There were blankets and eiderdowns and things caught on nails, I think, on people's chimneys. It was quite horrific, really, to see people's bedclothes literally blown onto the top of another house.
Just an innocent Sunday morning, all of a sudden you're homeless and your home's wrecked and everybody else's home's wrecked.
They discovered the cause of the blast, a fractured gas pipe. Barbara's new home had to be rebuilt.
All that section there, the piece that goes back, is all completely new. So you can see it was quite devastating. I did have a lucky escape, really, and I just think it's your fate. I wasn't meant to get really hurt, and nobody was that morning. And they will rebuild the cottages. You won't ever know anything has ever happened down here. Except people will remember it.
The problems some people have with their new homes are a little more bizarre. When one family moved into this house, they say they discovered unwanted house guests of a supernatural kind. And they reckon they caught on camera a ghostly arm coming through the door.
There's no explanation for what that was, because there was nothing there. I know there was nothing there. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen.
The family don't want people to know who they are.
I know what I think of other people on the telly when they say these things, and people think, oh, weirdos. And I don't want people to think that we're mad, because we're not.
They bought the 5-bedroomed house last year.
The reason we moved was basically for more space for the children, because they needed a bedroom each. And we saw this house, and size and price-wise, it was ideal.
They believe strange things started happening from the day they moved in.
It would sound like there was doors opening, furniture moving. It would sound like people running up and down the staircase, running from one side of the house to the other. We had quite a lot of noise up in the loft. We could hear what sounded like something just being dragged across our ceilings. When you go up the stairs, it's the second one from the top. As soon as you get there, you can feel like a mist on your face, as if something was damp or something had touched you. My eldest daughter, she was coming down the stairs and she had a hanger thrown at her from the top of the stairs, but nobody else was upstairs.
And then they captured something odd on camera.
We noticed that we thought were bubbles, like big bubbles in the pictures. Some of them looked like light bulbs. We had this mist in our dining room, and that was quite alarming.
And when they used a video camera, they caught something even spookier.
There was actually something that came through the door while it was shut. I thought it looked like a piece of washing just kind of blew through the door, and that was very disturbing because I know that I was sitting opposite and I didn't see anything, I didn't feel anything. There was nothing else downstairs that could have been. I think until you've experienced something that you can't explain, it does kind of open your mind to other things.
The children refused to sleep alone in their new bedrooms.
Two of the children, in different rooms on different days, said they had a man standing at the end of their bed.
And this bedroom is particularly unpopular.
Everybody's tried sleeping in that room and nobody wants to be in there. I mean, we haven't decorated it yet because nobody will stay in there long enough to work out whose room it's going to be.
So, in the new home they bought for its 5 bedrooms, the family was crammed into 3. They decided to get some help. They called in UK ghost hunters.
Immediately we stepped into the house. We were aware that something was here.
Sue Clark's a medium. She leads a group who investigate reports of hauntings and paranormal activity.
After seeing the piece of video footage, we realised that whatever was here was aware of the fact that it may be being filmed. And by the way it reacted, didn't obviously want to be filmed, but we wanted to film it anyway. What we decided to do was disguise a video camera. So we got a teddy bear, pulled all its insides out, and put a camera inside it. If something does come into the room, it doesn't realise it's being recorded. And because the teddy bear blends into the child's room, well, it could just look like another toy.
1 hour and 28 minutes into the secret filming, they thought they'd got what they were hoping for.
And we got quite a few light anomalies on that piece of footage. They're like little white balls of light that you can see travelling through the air. All we know is that we believe that they're the first stage of a spirit manifestation.
We're a normal family, and when we moved here, we didn't expect any of this. I didn't believe in ghosts before, but I do believe in a little bit more now than what I did.
Coming up, the ghost hunting team organises a spirit confrontation. The home improvements that were the talk of the town.
Loads of people would come to the end of the cul-de-sac and just sit and stare and watch.
And the couple forced to sell their dream home in the sun.
Come to Spain, be happy, be relaxed in your lovely villa, and then you get this thrown at you.
When one family moved into their new home, they say they experienced weird disturbances.
It would sound like there was doors opening, furniture moving. It would sound like people running up and down the staircase. After a couple of months, there was bedrooms that the children didn't want to use. It was like living back in a 3-bedroom house that we'd moved from because we had 2 rooms that we couldn't use.
Professor Chris French runs the Psychology Research Unit at Goldsmiths College in London. It's his job to find scientific explanations for bizarre experiences.
You get to know the sounds that your own house makes, but when you're in a new house, when you're in an unfamiliar environment, those sounds are different and you don't know where they're coming from and you've not got to know the house properly yet. Now, it's interesting that the family feel that there are a couple of rooms in particular where everybody tends to feel uneasy. Now, recent research would suggest that that may be down to certain things that are different about those rooms. It may be they're a bit darker than just going in from the corridor. Maybe there's a change in humidity. Maybe there are cold spots in the room caused by just ordinary things like drafts and so on. So it might be that there are real physical reasons why these rooms feel different to the other rooms in the house. But of course, it doesn't mean that they're haunted.
The family called in UK ghost hunters, who performed what they call a spirit rescue.
It's just changed. It just does seem very, very different. We've not had any noises. Our eldest daughter's going to go into that bedroom now and use it because, as she puts it, it feels very inviting. It's changed. We can really make it a home now, and I'm hoping that lasts.
I think what we're looking at here is a demonstration of the power of belief. The fact that they believed so strongly in the first place that they had it, that the ritual would work, means that now they are convinced that there's no more ghostly activity. And I say good luck to them. You know, I hope they have many happy years in that house. It's the belief that was the important thing, though. I don't think there was ever any ghosts there.
Next, brand new homes in a fabulous location. What could go wrong? This.
It was a dream home, but I'm afraid it turned into a new home from hell.
The Hampshire village of Farringdon, where most homes cost upwards of £500,000. So, when 12 new affordable houses were built in 1993, there was a huge demand for them. Charlotte and David Drew were thrilled to get number 12, worth £68,000.
Really, it was the answer for us, wasn't it? It was an
Certainly was,
excellent way for us to get onto the property market. We were like two young people furnishing our first home, and it was wonderful. We thought we were going to be there for a very long time, happily.
But they were wrong. In December 2000, it started raining heavily. And it didn't stop for 4 days. An underground river burst through the field. Overnight, the groundwater rose by 3 feet.
I looked at my suite, and I looked at my furniture, and I looked at the soft furnishings, and with utter disbelief.
The families were completely unprepared for the deluge. Sandbags at the doorstep were useless. The water was coming up through the floorboards. At number 11 lived the Milner family.
You couldn't see your feet through the water. It was always just thick and cloudy, and it was absolutely disgusting.
The downstairs loo, it had come up through the toilet, hadn't it? Mm-hmm. Sewage and mud and food everywhere.
There was a washing up from the night before bits as well, I think, that never got done. The washing machine was there.
Instead of washing in it.
Instead of washing in it. I think the pizza was still in the oven, actually. We didn't leave.
Rescue services filmed the evacuation.
This your house, yeah? All right. Is there anything you want upstairs?
We did try and shift everything that was movable upstairs.
Okay, mate.
So, I mean,
we're just going to go through all the properties.
Yeah.
And then we finish. Then we know we've done them. Then.
It was the week before Christmas. Everyone's plans were in ruins.
This one, 999.
All they could do was wait for the floodwater to drain away.
I actually imagined within a couple of days that the water would have gone down and we'd have been in the process of drying the house out and going back in again.
But the water stayed put. Weeks and months passed. The houses were becoming mouldy. There was no sign of the area draining. Charlotte, now living in temporary accommodation, discovered why.
I've had a look through the files and actually found documented evidence as far back as I think it was 1852 talking about flooding there. There's something in the file that actually used to refer to the plot of land as Chase Lake.
Tim Charrington lives in the village. He knew it was the wrong place to build new homes.
Well, all my childhood, it used to, about every 5-7 years, used to flood. And we got photographs of a complete lake there with swans swimming around on it. The children used to, float oil drums and bits of wood and sail boats on it. And it was a fairly regular occurrence.
And twice in the 1960s, the council had refused permission to build houses. 30 years later, though, planning permission was granted, despite letters of protest.
One of them, from a gentleman who lived sort of opposite the entrance to the close, said that this was prone to serious flooding and that he strongly objected and said they should not build there.
East Hampshire District Council say they regret the residents' distress. They say they did consider the concerns of locals, but the expert advice they'd received had suggested the drainage was adequate.
We were very angry. People knew the history of Farringdon and the history of that field, and nobody listened. They'd said, well, they only listen to professionals. It made me wonder, well, what's the point of having a planning application if they're not actually going to listen to genuine objections?
It took 6 months for the water to drain away. The houses were ruined. The developers say they built the new homes in good faith, within the planning rules. They bought the houses back at their pre-flood value and then sold the site. In May 2005, new developers moved in. Their diggers got to work destroying all 12 houses.
It's so wrong, so very wrong.
They'll be building 25 brand new homes, but this time further up the hill.
Your house is your castle. It's, you know, for working class people like us, it's the biggest investment you make. And to have it taken away from you, it's just immoral.
Next, a homeowner who broke all the rules with his new home and ended up in jail.
His view is very simple. It is his land, he can do what he wants. And then, lo and behold, you know, for it, he loses his freedom and it gets pulled down.
This executive estate is in an exclusive area of Telford in Shropshire. The biggest and most expensive home is this 5-bedroom property, which cost £135,000 back in 1997. The new owner decided it needed an extension.
We weren't concerned about was it going to fall down, but when it was going to fall down, it was defying gravity. Loads of people would come to the end of the cul-de-sac, turn around and just sit and stare and watch.
That's Colin, the next-door neighbour. Now meet the builder himself, Sylvester Nsewu.
I'm a qualified accountant and a qualified auditor. I'm also the owner of this land and this building.
Sylvester spent 3 years working alone on his homemade extension.
I wanted to put up an extension. So I went on and put up a very big and large extension.
Sylvester had not just no building experience, he didn't have the rudimentary building experience that my kids do.
Sylvester began the project in January 2000, and over the years it grew. Colin kept a video record of his progress.
you could see that Sylvester was doing something out the back of his house. He then started to build more or less vertical columns, except they were far from true, and then started to bolt in double-glazed patio doors. But we realised that with 5 or 6 patio doors, it was quite big.
It was a very big building, a very expensive building. I was very happy with my building. There was nothing wrong with the building.
In one way, I admire him. You know, one person against all the odds, he builds this thing. He shifts 3.5 tons of roofing tiles by himself from the front of the house, up ladders, nails them on. Nails them on the wrong way, but that's by the by.
Telford Council said it contravened just about every building regulation in the book. They told Sylvester to pull his extension down. He ignored them, even after they took him to court.
I must have spent over £40,000 on court fines or so alone. And the building itself was a very expensive building.
It cost him far more than ever getting the most expensive company to do it. So he must have loved it.
At Stoke-on-Trent County Court in June 2003, he was finally ordered to demolish the extension or face jail.
How can I remove my building from my land? It's a private property. Remove it, I refuse.
So, in August 2003, Sylvester was jailed for 3 months. And while he was in prison, the council removed it for him.
In a way, it was like Frankenstein's creature. You know, he loved it, he was the creator, but, you know, it turned round and wreaked its revenge by being pulled down.
But Sylvester's determined not to be beaten by bureaucracy.
I've got the land, I've got the building materials. What will happen is I'll put up a brand new building, but it will actually be bigger than the one I built before. But I will have to go through the planning process all over again.
A place in the sun. Most of us only dream of buying a new home abroad. But each year, over 500,000 British families actually up sticks and do it. For a large number in Spain, though, the dream has turned sour.
We moved here for a better life. We've had a better life for 3 years, but this last 2.5 years, it's been absolute hell. Nothing, there's no other word for it but hell.
In November 1999, Cliff Harrison took redundancy from his job at a cigarette factory in West Yorkshire. 2 months later, he and his wife Kath were heading for a new life in Spain's Costa Blanca.
We had holidays in this area and we liked it, so we decided that we'd come and have a look for a house here.
The couple found a rundown farmhouse on a plot of land an hour north of Benidorm. They started keeping a video diary for their family back home.
From driving in the gate, as soon as we saw it, within 10 seconds, both looking at each other, walking round, seeing the size of the land, seeing the house and the potential it had, we both knew this is it.
The couple bought the farmhouse in September 2000 for £90,000.
The setting were beautiful, the mountains all round. It was something out of a picture book. It were absolutely gorgeous. You couldn't have wished for better.
These are the beautiful Naranga trees. Orange for you Brits.
On the house, there was quite a lot of work to be done, but every house that we have had in England, we've done a lot of work on.
The inside didn't have a proper bathroom. Kitchen was walls falling down. There were no plaster in any part of the house. It were all breeze block. Hell of a lot of work.
Over the next 2 years, the couple transformed the farmhouse into their dream home, with a little help from their friends.
Typical bloody builders, a beer in one end and bloody trowel in t'other hand.
They spent £70,000 doing it up and fitting it out, as well as adding a 10-metre swimming pool.
Each block makes a difference, bud. It's going up now, Brian, innit? We loved doing it, and we didn't have to rush it. You had plenty of time to just do a little bit at a time.
There's the pool. Beautiful. There's my big satellite dish. ITV, BBC, all the lot.
Life was sweet in Casa Harrison.
This is just a normal Sunday dinner. We're drinking the beer.
Es mucho sol en la Costa Blanco.
It is the dream. It is what the British want. It is an absolute perfect lifestyle.
Doing the lambada.
You go in a bar in England and it's all moaning about the DHSS, moaning about whatever. You weren't getting it. All of a sudden it were bliss. It was absolute bliss.
But it was all about to go horribly wrong. Find out in just a moment. Life had never been better for Cliff and Kath Harrison. They were working hard doing up their new home in Spain, but enjoying every minute of it.
It's November now, and it's absolutely red hot here. Perfect building weather.
But one day in August 2002, Cliff heard some news that would change everything.
This is the boundaries of my garden. And if you come along here, this is where I were 3 years ago. And the farmer came across this field here, across this orange grove. And 3 years ago, this is where I first found out that he'd sold the land to the town hall. And it started the land grab.
What has become known as the land grab law in this part of Spain gives local authorities the right to seize land without paying the owners €1. It's then used for new housing, roads and power supplies. Cliff faced losing 1/5 of his land, including most of his front garden and his swimming pool.
This is the land that they want. All this beautiful patch here that is now orange groves will soon be a dual carriageway with over 1,000 new houses.
As well as taking the land for free, the law allows the authorities to get landowners to pay for the cost of developing it. Cliff and Kath were given 2 options: lose 1/5 of their land and pay £50,000, or keep their land and pay £85,000.
If we take the £50,000 option, then along this line here, all this garden, all this here, even the swimming pool, would be took for houses. They would build houses there. And then all this, we would lose. We can't afford £50,000, never mind the £85,000.
But they weren't going to give up without a fight.
Letters I've sent, letters I've received from Tony Blair, no real bite to them. Look at the state of her, she's aged tenure.
What do you expect under all this rubbish? Stress and strain of life. Come to Spain, be happy, be relaxed in your lovely villa, and then you get this thrown at you. What do you expect?
She's very bitter, as you can see.
Very bitter, sorry.
Thousands of other British families have had their homes threatened. The Spanish authorities insist the law is fair. They say homeowners would benefit from the area being developed, and so they should contribute towards the cost. But for Cliff and Kath, the price was too high. They couldn't afford to pay, so their only solution was to sell up.
It's not what we wanted. We did not want to sell this house. We wanted to finish this house, but are now being forced out because of no reason of ours.
I don't think I want to leave this place. It's too good.
But in June 2005, the dream was over. When they sold their new home, they had to reduce the price because of the land grab fee. They got £208,000 and they're moving out of Spain for good.
When I actually pack up the car and leave this house,
Yeah. Go on, you can.
it makes me very unhappy because I love it here.
I don't want any other Brit coming out here, buying property here and finding out that after he's signed everything, you end up paying again for it yourselves. I'm speaking from what has happened to me, and I don't want it to happen to anybody else.
Next tonight, the maverick detective is closing in on the serial killer, but can he keep calm and solve the case before time runs out? It's a race to the truth as our drama premiere, Instinct, concludes. Well, that was a change to the advertised programme. Cops with Cameras can now be seen in 2 weeks' time.